Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Charlene. Thank you so much for clicking on today's video. I am so excited for this one because it is one of my favorite things to do, which is baking. I love doing sourdough breads. I love baking goods for my husband and my girls. They enjoy it, I enjoy it. It's a win-win situation. So today I get to share that with you all. So we have a pretty large family and we will give gifts to all of like the small children. But for all of the adults, I just put cookie boxes together. I figure one, it's cookies. Who doesn't want cookies over the holidays? And two, it's a gift that's not gonna go to waste because people eat them. So I'm gonna show you guys what I plan to do for my cookie boxes this year. I am making two tried and true recipes. One of them is a white chocolate chip cranberry cookie. It is absolutely delicious. Use fresh cranberries for them, and the sweetness between the white chocolate chips and the sugar from like the sugar cookie and the tartness of the cranberry is absolutely delicious. And the other cookie is a Levain bakery chocolate chunk cookie. I believe it's chocolate and walnut, but I leave the walnuts out. At least for this recipe, I'll leave it out just because the girls are going to be the ones eating this here and they're not a huge fan of like walnuts in their chocolate chip cookies. And the new recipe for this year that we're going to be trying out together is a soft, chewy gingerbread cookie dipped in like a maple icing. It looks delicious. I have been wanting to do a gingerbread cookie for a while, and I personally love like the soft, chewy gingerbread cookies. So we're gonna try that out together. First things first, I'm gonna open up this package that I have here. I ordered craft cookie boxes or cake boxes with a little window from Amazon. So I'm gonna open it up so that I can show you how I put the cookie box together from start to finish. So I just put one of the boxes together. It's a perfect size to hold all of the cookies, and in addition to these craft boxes with a little window, I also picked up some thin red velvet ribbon. Let me see if you can see that. I still have it in the wrapper, so hopefully the glare, or with the glare, you can still see it. But I got that as well. I thought it would be super cute to have all of the cookies in here, tie a little red ribbon around it. So we're gonna get started on our cookies. The very first one we're gonna do is the white chocolate chip cranberry cookies. So first things first, the hair has to go up, and now we can get started on making these cookies. I will make sure to leave the recipe down below. I've done this cookie so many times. I follow it to the T every single time because it's perfect. It doesn't need any adjustments. And yeah, I think you guys are really gonna like this one. So let's get started. So the first thing I wanna get started is measuring out the cranberries that we're going to use, putting them in my little salad spinner just so that I can wash them, rinse them off, and then pat them dry and get them ready. So I'm going to measure out 1 1/4 cup of whole cranberries. These are just regular cranberries. I got them from Walmart. So for all of these recipes, I am going to be using my stand mixer. I will be honest, sometimes I hate having to pull this thing out. And if I'm doing like a really simple recipe, I will just do it by hand. But given that I am doing several recipes, I figured it'd be easier if I just use my stand mixer. But you can definitely do all of these recipes without a stand mixer. You don't even need an electric like blender for these. I have done all of these cookies by hand. Does it take a little bit more effort? Yes, but on the flip end, I don't have to take out all of this equipment. So it just depends what I'm in the mood for. So I always start off with the whisk attachment just to blend in the butter and the sugar and all of that. But when I go to add in the flour, I switch it over to this paddle attachment. I'm not sure what the actual name is, but I feel like it's a little bit easier to get the flour and the cookie dough out of this as opposed to out of this. So I'm going to start it off with this first. So the very first thing you want to add in is a stick of butter, which is a 1/2 cup of butter. And it says room temperature. Mine was cold. I put it in the microwave for 20 seconds. Actually, I'm going to take this off and then I put it back on when I have everything in here, but 1/2 stick of butter. Then you're going to add in 1/3 cup of just regular sugar, followed by 2/3 cup of light brown sugar. I'm going to add the attachment on, whisk it a little bit, and then add the rest of the ingredients. Once the butter and the sugar start to clump together, then I add in 1 egg. Also going to add in 1 teaspoon of baking soda and a 1/2 teaspoon of salt. Any salt will do. I have pink Himalayan salt. It could be regular table salt. Doesn't really matter. The recipe also calls for vanilla extract. I don't have like the regular vanilla extract, but I do have this bourbon vanilla bean paste from Trader Joe's. This is so freaking good, and I love using this in my baked goods. So you can also use a vanilla bean paste if you don't have the regular vanilla extract. And it is 2 teaspoons of this. This is kind of like goopy, so that's 1. And that's 2. Then we're gonna go ahead and mix this all together. And make sure you stop at some point and scrape down the sides as well. Once everything is combined, I go ahead and take off the whisk attachment and then replace it for the other paddle attachment. And then to this, you're gonna add 2 cups of flour. I do 1 at a time. And at that point, you're almost done. There's really not too much more to do other than adding in the cranberries and the white chocolate chips. So this is a super, super simple and easy recipe. And a tip that I like to do when adding in flour is I like to fluff it up first and then get my cup. I think if you don't fluff it up, sometimes you might get more flour in there than you intend to get. So fluff it up, then get your cup, add it in, mix 1 cup first, then do the 2nd cup, and then we're almost done. All right, now that we have our yummy cookie batter done, we're gonna go ahead and take our cranberries that are washed, and I'm gonna put them out on a kitchen towel so that I can dry them really well before slicing them up into thin little slices. And I'm sure you could use one of those like choppers and just chop it up into pieces, but I just think it's so aesthetically pleasing when you see like the little slices of cranberries with the little holes. It looks like a little star almost. It's super cute, so I don't mind it. I only do these cookies once a year. I only do them for Christmas, so it is a labor of love that I am okay with. All right, and this is what they should look like before adding them into your batter. All right, so the cranberry slices are going in now. And I'm gonna try to not get any of that extra flour that you see here and just grab the little cranberry slices. Put this down. Kind of like sift it through my hands a little bit. Once you have your cranberry slices in here, you're gonna add in 6 ounces of white chocolate chips, and then you are going to gently fold everything in together so that you're not breaking up the cranberry pieces. And then I use a 2 tablespoon like cookie scoop, and I double it. So I think I do a 4 tablespoon cookie. I like to make them nice and big. So I'll show you how I make those in a second. Let me add the white chocolate chips and then fold everything in. So this is what you're left with. Don't be too concerned if you see some of the cranberry slices or the white chocolate chips not sticking to the batter. Once you scoop it up and you form it in your hands, you can kind of lightly mush it all together and then form the cookie ball that way. But it wouldn't be a proper cookie making session if you didn't try a little bit of the batter. That's gonna be a good cookie. So now I'm gonna get my baking sheet ready, line it with parchment paper, and then start forming the cookies. So what I'm using is a 3 tablespoon cookie scoop. So I might leave it as a 3 tablespoon. I might double it, we'll see. And I will say it's a pretty hefty 3 tablespoon scoop, so maybe like 3.5. So the first thing I need to do is cube up 2 sticks of cold butter. These were in my freezer, so I just put them in the microwave for about 15 seconds. They're still really cold, but they're not like rock hard frozen. So let me cube these up, add them in, and then I will show you the rest of the ingredients. To the cold butter, you're gonna add 3/4 cup of brown sugar. And a 1/2 cup of just regular granulated sugar. And then you're gonna put your whisk attachment and beat this until combined. Once it's all combined, you're gonna add 1 teaspoon of cornstarch, 1 teaspoon of baking soda, and 1/2 teaspoon of salt. After that, I'm gonna put on the paddle. I don't even know if that's like what the actual term is. I need to look it up, but the other attachment, you know what I'm talking about. And I'm gonna add in the flour. This recipe is a little bit interesting because it combines cake flour with all-purpose flour. So we're adding in 1 cup of cake flour and 1 3/4 cup of all-purpose flour. So now that I have my batter, I'm gonna add in 1 cup of chocolate chunks. You could use chocolate chips, you could use white chocolate chips. The original recipe calls for a cup of walnuts as well. I'm just omitting that from this recipe in particular because my girls don't necessarily love like nuts in their cookies. So I'm just gonna do the Nestle Toll House semi-sweet chunks. Per the request of my husband, I'm gonna take out some of this cookie dough batter into a little bowl and just add white chocolate chips to those because he is more of a white chocolate chip kind of guy or a white chocolate kind of guy as opposed to milk or dark chocolate. So I separated about this much. I'm gonna add about 1/4 cup of white chocolate chips and just mix it around and see if it needs more. And then I'll do 3/4 cups into this one right here. Or maybe I should start off with a 1/2 cup since I'm switching up the portions a little bit. I'll do 1/2 cup and then see if it needs more. So I started off with the 1/2 cup of chocolate chunks, but I ended up going with the 3/4 cup. I think if it was the entire cookie dough batter and I wouldn't have separated it, a cup would have been perfectly fine. But this is 3/4 cup of chocolate chunks. I like there to be a good amount of chocolate, but not so much where it's overwhelming and you're not getting enough cookie and everything is just chocolate. So I did 3/4 of a cup of chocolate chunks, and then I did a 1/4 cup of white chocolate chips in this batter. So now I'm just going to use my 3 tablespoon cookie scoop, scoop these things out, and then we just have one more recipe, which is a recipe that is completely new to me. So that'll be a learning experience for the both of us. Let me get these cookies onto the cookie sheet. I'm gonna move these to a different section of my counter. As you can see, 2 are missing. That is my husband. He really likes these. All right, so now while those Levain chocolate chunk cookies are in the oven, we're gonna get started on the next cookie, which are called soft gingerbread cookies with maple glaze. It seems super simple. It looks like I'm just gonna need some unsalted butter, sugar, egg, molasses, all-purpose flour, baking soda, salt, ground ginger, and granulated sugar for rolling. And then the maple glaze is just butter, maple syrup, powdered sugar, and a little bit of milk. Seems super simple. I already had molasses on hand. I like to keep this in the house in case I ever run out of brown sugar. You literally mix a little bit of this with white sugar and keep mixing it, and it turns into brown sugar. So there's your tip. And I have maple syrup as well. So I thought, why not give this recipe a go? So let me get this butter softened, because right now it's a little bit too cold. So I'm gonna put it in the microwave for about 10 to 15 seconds, put it into the stand mixer, and then get this recipe going. So this recipe calls for 3/4 of a cup of softened butter. So I'm adding in a stick and a half, which is 3/4 of a cup, and 1 cup of granulated sugar. Then I'll put the attachment on so that way the butter and the sugar can be well combined. Then I'm gonna add in 1 large egg and combine that. And then afterwards I will add in 1/3 cup of molasses. In goes the molasses, and I have a little silicone spatula to make sure that I get every last bit of this out. To this, we're gonna add 2 1/4 cups of all-purpose flour. Now we're adding 2 teaspoons of baking soda. 1, 2. Next is 3/4 teaspoon of salt. So I'm just going to eyeball this one so I don't have to pull out the other little measuring spoon. And the next thing is 1 to 2 teaspoons of ground ginger. So I'm gonna do 1, mix the batter, taste it, and then see if I want it to be a little bit more gingery. Oh, that's a big teaspoon. So 1 teaspoon. Switching out attachments and combining. All right, so I'm gonna give this a little taste and then see if it needs any more ginger. I'm gonna say another teaspoon of ginger is good. And then I think it'll be perfect. This dough seems a little wet, I'm not gonna lie. It says to mix until a soft dough forms, but I feel like this dough is a little bit wet. We're gonna try it out and see. So what we're gonna do now is scoop out little balls of cookie dough, roll it in the sugar, place it on the baking sheet, and then bake them at 350 for 9 to 11 minutes. So for this, I'm gonna use my 1.5 tablespoon cookie scoop, and we'll see how that goes. All right, guys, so my kitchen is looking like a disaster, but it's okay because we have delicious cookies at the end of this that we're gonna try and my family's gonna love. So I'm gonna get started on the glaze. I'm gonna see if I could find some Christmas sprinkles. I feel like I might have some. So let me do that. Let me make this glaze. I already have the chocolate chunk cookies on a cooling rack, cooling, and then we're gonna put everything all together. All right, so I just melted the 1 tablespoon of butter. Now I'm going to add in the 1 tablespoon, is this a tablespoon? Yes, of maple syrup. So to that, I'm gonna add 1.5 cups of powdered sugar. I have a 1/2 cup measuring thing because this is kind of small. I'm not sure a whisk was the best idea. It also says to add in 2 tablespoons of milk. Adding in the other 1/2 cup and the other tablespoon of milk. And then I'm gonna add in the last 1/2 cup. So it's 1.5 cups of powdered sugar. It also says to add in a pinch of salt, so that's about a pinch. Trying to mix it well so that there's no like clumps. So I should have stuck with the smaller size because these are freaking massive. They smell delicious though, so I will say that. I'm going to start taking them out, putting them on the cooling rack, and then we just have to dip half of them, put the sprinkles, and we're done. These big ones was probably a mistake. So now I know, and now you guys know, stick with the 1.5 tablespoon and make sure that they're spread out enough because they do flatten and become quite a bit bigger in size. So now that these ginger cookies have cooled and they're not flopping, I'm going to go ahead and dip them into that maple icing, put a few Christmas sprinkles that I found, and then let them cool before I go ahead and assemble the entire box. So I just finished the ginger cookies and they still need to harden, like the icing needs to harden. So I'm gonna show you guys how I put together my cookie box using the non-iced ginger cookies, just so that I can show you what I do, how I set them up. Super simple, really straightforward. Let's get this cookie box started. So first I'm grabbing some of the white chocolate cranberries. These are definitely more of an organic look. They're not perfectly round and cookie cutter type, but I absolutely love that about this. I love how they look. So I'm gonna layer maybe 5 or 6. I'll see how many I can actually fit in here. 3. There we go. So I will probably grab the larger ginger cookies and layer. They're so thin, so I can probably do a good like 3 or 4. Now these did not come out the prettiest shape, but again, that was just trial and error. Now I know for the next time to stick with 1.5 tablespoon cookie scoop and have them really separated because they do spread and flatten out and they'll be perfectly circle and smaller. And these are the Levain bakery cookies, the chocolate chunk. I think I can fit maybe like 1 and 2, 3, and 4. So now let's put the little ribbon on there. So this is the cookie box that you can gift to friends, family members, co-workers, whoever you want. It's a really good gift idea. It takes a little bit of time and effort, but you can make so many and gift so many people. I'm gonna text my last check and see if she's free tomorrow so that I can stop by and give her her little cookie box, maybe pick up a bottle of wine for her or something like that. So these are 3 really good recipes that I encourage you to try if you want to bake something this season. They're all absolutely delicious, and I'm sure whoever you gift them to will think the same. So yeah guys, that is all for today's video. Thank you so much for joining me and for being in my kitchen with me and baking these holiday cookies. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up, and if you're not subscribed, please consider subscribing. I would love to have you here, and until the next video, bye guys.